my team that everything is working. Before I get started, we're going to talk a little bit about the NAR settlement and the changes that we've seen in real estate this week. So I'm going to assume that everything's working because no one's telling me it's not.
Yep, we are good to go.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. All right. So we have had a big week in the real estate world, and this is something that has affected agents and buyers and sellers across the entire country. So this is not just here in the DMV, and I just wanted to take a minute to come on and explain a couple of things. There's been so many misconceptions out there, and I know that a lot of you have questions, and it seems like the only time I get asked the questions really are when I see people in person, or if I'm sending a direct message to one of you, you might respond and ask me. But I just feel like there's so much confusion on the part of the public, and people really don't know how this affects them or if this affects them. And I always want to be your resource for any questions that you have, and just want you to know that I'm available. And so I thought this might be a good way of sort of opening up the conversation and answering some of your questions. And then if you have follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to me even this weekend. Totally fine. I'm happy to talk with you and answer anything that I can. So basically, back in May, the National Association of Realtors, which is NAR, so you'll see NAR in the headlines, the National Association of Realtors settled a class action suit. And basically what happened is home sellers were alleging that they were not aware of the fact that compensation for agents is negotiable. They alleged that price fixing was going on, and all sorts of things that I completely disagree with. And I really think that the only winners in all of this are going to be the attorneys that filed the suit. I don't think that the consumer is going to walk away with much of anything, which is typical of class action suits. So really, I think it was much ado about nothing, but nevertheless, here we are, and we have put some changes into practice this week as a result of this lawsuit. And my team has been preparing for these changes for months. There literally has not been a week that's gone by when I have not been in one, if not two or three classes on this, the implications of the lawsuit, learning how it's going to affect our clients, how it's going to affect the agents on my team, the agents in my EXP organization. And I've really dedicated myself to being at the forefront of all of this and having a deep understanding of everything, and really interpreting what we need to do so that we can do it in a way that benefits our clients the most, but at the same time, obviously protects my team, my agents, to ensure that we can continue doing what we love to do, and what I think we're very good at doing, but in a way that satisfies all the requirements of the suit. So basically, the most practical item that happened this week is that buyer agent compensation is no longer being listed in the multiple listing service. So for as long as I've been selling real estate, when a client would ask me to see a home, I could log into the MLS system, which is the database of homes for sale in our area. In our area, it's called Bright MLS. I could log into that database, see what compensation, if any, the seller was offering to the buyer agent, and then could proceed with showing the house, knowing that I was going to be compensated for my efforts, because nobody likes to work for free. And also to have peace of mind for my buyer that they would not be responsible for any of the compensation on the buy side. And that has been the norm for really as long as I've been selling, which is about to be 20 years. And typically the seller was offering an amount that was sufficient for a buyer agent to be paid, and the buyer would not need to make up any difference on the compensation. And sellers would typically be fine with that. They understood that compensating a buyer's agent increases the pool of showings on their house, the number of agents that are showing their property, the amount of attention that they're getting, the amount of offers, and sellers by and large understood that, and wanted to do that so that they could get the most attention on their property and ultimately have the highest terms. We've always had sellers who did not want to either pay a buyer agent or pay either agent, and that's 100% fine. that's what a for sale by owner is, right? So for sale by owners have existed as long as I can remember, and that is 100% a fine thing to do. And negotiating commission is a completely fine thing to do. And what I charge is probably different from other agents in the market, higher or lower, could be the same. I don't know. Every agent is able to run their business the way that they want to do, at least at my brokerage. We are allowed to do it that way. And that's why we go on appointments with sellers and they can interview us, find out what fees we charge, what we do for those fees, and then a seller can make a decision whether it works for them or not. And a lot of times it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Sellers can choose to hire the cheapest agent or the most expensive agent. It's what value do they perceive they're getting for those services, and the seller is the one that gets to make that decision. The seller gets to decide how much they are paying their listing agent, and the seller also gets to decide how much they are compensating the buyer's agent. And when we historically have logged on to MLS, we will see that sometimes it's a high number, sometimes it's a low number, sometimes it's, what we expect. You never know, because everyone has always had the choice. And that's why it's unfortunate that this whole thing came about, because I don't believe that that it's true that people didn't realize that things are negotiable. So in any event, the DOJ disagreed with me. And so we now have this practice in place where, as an agent, and I log on to the MLS and I want to see how much I'm getting paid for showing a house, I can see it in a transparent way. I know what the amount is, and I know whether or not it works for me. For example, tomorrow I'm showing 8 properties, and I don't know what any of them are paying because it's not in the MLS anymore. So it really has decreased transparency, but this is the new way, and we're gonna, all come to a way of doing business where it's fine and we can continue working in the best interest of our clients. So first thing I'm going to talk about is how things have changed from the buyer perspective, and then I'll talk about how things have changed from the seller perspective. So when we are working with buyers, we've actually always been required to have a buyer agreement in place before we go and show houses. And some agents have had that be their practice. Other agents have waited to have agreements signed until they were ready to submit an offer. That's been done in different ways. Now, what we're being told is that we must have an agreement signed with our buyer clients before we go show houses. And the reason for that is so that we are fully transparent with the buyer about how the compensation system works now. And the buyer cannot say that they were confused and that they didn't understand that the seller may not be willing to compensate the buyer agent as they need to be compensated per their business practices. So we now have an agreement, same agreement that we've always had, really. There's a couple tweaks to it, but buyers will be asked to sign an agreement. And what it says is that they understand what my fee is, the same way you would sign a retainer agreement with an attorney, a CPA, a financial advisor. The way I look at it is, you would think it was odd if you went and interviewed a CPA, an attorney, a financial advisor, you decided to hire them, and they didn't want you to sign some sort of engagement letter that described to you how they were paid. You would probably feel like it was strange. You would feel like, am I going to get a surprise bill? What if they change their fee and I'm, no, I don't agree with it, but they've already performed the services? It would be pretty unprofessional. And with real estate agents, it's no different. We also have certain amounts that we work for, which can completely differ from one agent to the next. And so the agreement that you sign with an agent will explain what their fee is, and in practicality, what the buyer agent is going to do, at least on my team, is we're going to make every effort to have a seller pay for that fee, the same as they always have. We will make every effort to negotiate that on the contract. And I believe that many, many sellers will absolutely be willing to pay that fee because, like I said earlier, it does attract more buyers, more showings, more offers. And that is what is going to give a seller the best terms, right? If you have 10 offers versus 1. So we want our buyers to feel assured that we're going to do everything that we can to be able to have that seller pay the fee, and that the buyer will not be on the hook for that. However, you could have some seller, like I just said, everything's negotiable. So you could have a seller who says, no, I don't want to pay that amount. I'm going to pay less of an amount. And then we would be able to have a conversation with our buyer and explain that to them. And they may say, it's fine. I still want to see the house. I'm willing to pay you the difference. Or they may say, nah, I don't want to see it. Let's go and see one of these other houses where the seller is willing to compensate you the full amount that you charge and that I've agreed that you should get paid. So we'll just have to have more of those conversations, going forward. And again, we will be doing our absolute best to have the seller pay for that amount. And if they will not for one reason or another, then we will definitely have our buyers be aware of that, so that there's absolutely no surprises going forward. Now, as a buyer, you may say, I'm just going to pay you. I don't want the seller to pay you. I want to get the house that I want, and I want to have my offer have the very best chances of getting accepted. And so I'm willing to do that. And guess what? You've always been able to do that. And we have written competitive offers for our buyers before, where our buyers offered to pay the commission for both sides. So we've always been able to have all of these choices, right? So a buyer could say that they want to have the very best chance of getting their dream house, and that they're more than happy to pay us, just like they pay their attorney, their CPA, their financial advisor. It's not a big deal for them. And they just want to have that winning offer that's going to have the best chances of coming out on top. And that's completely fine. That's a conversation that can be had. And it can differ based on the house. So you may say, I want this house so bad, I'm willing to pay. I just want to pay you directly. I don't want you to write anything into the offer asking for compensation. And you may see another house where you say, either, I feel like I'm going to need to spend some money fixing it up. I really want to keep my cash reserves. Let's go ahead and ask that seller to pay your fee. Or it's been on the market for 45 days. I don't think it's going to be a problem asking for your fee to be paid. Let's do it that way. And we will, of course, consult with you and advise you and give you, our opinion on these things. So it's not a decision that you're going to make without help. For our buyers, we want you to not have to pay the fee. We would rather have the seller pay it, but we also understand that in reality, that may not work in all circumstances, just like it's always been. For shifting over to the seller side, so the conversation that we will now be having when we come on listing appointments, we will be, instead of talking about one fee that includes the fee for both the seller and the buyer, we're going to separate that conversation out. And and again, I've always done this, but this is for sure now how all agents will need to do things, is there will be a listing agent fee to your listing agent, me or whoever it is on my team is listing your home. There will be that fee. And then we will talk about how you feel about paying a buyer agent, whether you want to decide in advance that you're willing to pay a certain percentage, or a lot of our sellers, I think, are going to say, let the buyer agent write in on the offer what they want, and we will consider it along with the other terms of the offer. And we'll see, do I get one offer? Do I get 10 offers on my house? I don't know yet. So let's wait and see how the offers come in and what, if anything, buyer agents are asking for, and then we will decide it at that time. The main key is that it will not be an MLS anymore. Now, we are still allowed to advertise that you are paying a buyer agent compensation if you want us to, okay? It is up to you. So you can say, I don't want you to mention anything about it. I just want you to tell people to write their offer and put their request in there. Or you can say to us, I believe that this will help me sell my house. I believe that this will help me get more offers. I want you to advertise a certain percentage on your marketing that you do on as you know, we put your house everywhere. So our social media, our print advertising, you can even have a rider on the sign in your yard advertising a percentage commission. There's lots of ways to get that message out besides the MLS. And so if we have a seller that comes to us and that is what they want us to do, because they remember back when they were buying, they were definitely not in a position to pay their buyer agent, that's fine. We will do that. The key here is that the seller and the buyer are the ones in charge, and you are the ones who will be making the ultimate decision. hopefully after you listen to the advice from whomever you're working with on the team, and then the decision can be made together with you having the ultimate say. So those are the main differences that we're seeing now starting this week. And I think, the main misconceptions out there, there's a lot of buyers who think that the seller is not paying buyer agent commissions anymore and that they are going to have to come up with those funds. So you have buyers who are thinking, oh my gosh, I already have to come up with my down payment. I've got to come up with my closing costs. And now I have to also come up with a commission for my agent. And that is a falsehood, because we truly do believe that in the majority of cases, that will not be the situation for buyers. So there's a lot of buyers who are very nervous about this, especially you have VA buyers, FHA buyers, maybe buyers who don't have a huge income, and they're very concerned about their ability to purchase a home. And I've heard some buyers say, well, this is it for me. Now I'm never going to be able to buy a home, which absolutely breaks my heart. And please help us. If you hear people saying things like that, tell them that is absolutely not true, and they need to get educated on the reality of what's going on. And then I hear a lot of sellers saying, oh, I don't have to pay real estate commissions anymore. I don't have to pay 6% anymore. And they're just not educated to the fact that things have always been negotiable. And after your discussion with your real estate agent, you can make a decision whether you want to offer compensation to the buyer agent or not. And who knows, you may have a house that's going to be so popular and so in demand that you can just say, nope, I'm not paying buyer's agents. If you're interested in my house, then you can pay your own agent, and that is fine. So I hope that this has helped sort of dispel some of the rumors and the myths out there. It's been very disheartening to see how the media has portrayed the settlement. There's been a lot of clickbait out there, a lot of falsehoods, and it's just unfortunate to see that, because we are still absolutely going to be helping our customers to buy and sell the same way that I have for almost 20 years. We are here for you. Do not go at this alone. This is probably the most expensive financial transaction that you've made in your entire life. And you want to make sure that you have a high caliber of representation, an agent who has been doing this for a long time, connected agent, someone who's really able to guide you and make sure that you make really smart decisions. So I will end this now, but please, please, please reach out to me with any questions. There's no dumb questions, and I would be absolutely thrilled to talk to you and explain things to you and help you, with any questions that you have through this process. And I want to thank all of our clients for your loyalty, for your referrals of your friends and family. It means so, so much to us. And we plan to stick around for a long time, serving all of you in excellence. So I hope to talk to some of you soon, and I hope everyone has a wonderful end of summer and great start to school. Bye-bye.